Yeah. Wake up with coffee and sports. Sunrise glow, listen coast to coast. A flow like you know.
Offensively, who made them? Oh, Patrick Mahomes.
Sideline to sideline with plays to show. This network's got the spark.
When you put up 300 yards rushing against someone, that you got your butt whooped.
I feel like I would have liked to see Oregon, Ohio State in the semis, not the quarters. So I think some reseeding is probably where I would change. But
they're out of their mind. They're going to do this 3 quarterbacks in a row.
Here's the crazy.
I just can't take it.
First keep flying high, fans cheering loud, and one podcast moving through the crowd. Meaty boys brawling, no holds barred loud. This wire life never in doubt. Tune into the vibe.
That's my bold prediction for the show. Devin Booker, in the next 3 years, he will be a Houston Rocket.
Because I still think Seth is still at the top of his game. I do. I think he's right there. Who knows? Maybe. Not this year, but one time soon. Why wouldn't we potentially see Seth and Roman? One more, you know what I mean?
Tune in the vibe.
Guard on the mic tonight. News coming in left and right. Oh, better with the latest fight. Gene's got that insight sight. Champions rise and they fall. Wire to wire, got it all. Every move in every brawl. Tune in for the curtain call. Wrestling talk all night long. Catch the latest match and song. Ring the bell, let's get it on. Every story bright and strong. In the ring they clash and roar. New rivalries and so much more. Titles change and legends lore.
Hey, what is poppin', y'all? It is your boy, Gardy3, and welcome back to the Meaty Boys podcast. For those who are tuning in, and for you newcomers, welcome to the Meaty Boys Cup podcast. Of course, joining me just like every week, he is the greatest co-host of all time. He is Mo Betta. How you doing, Mo?
Hey, what's good, Brett? What's happening in chat? Let's talk some wrestling.
No, absolutely. I figure we start with the big news. Naturally, they have announced that John Cena's final match will be decided via tournament by familiar faces, new faces, and some faces that don't even work with WWE. So I'm curious, do you like the tournament idea to deciding, John Cena's last match? And who are some names you'd like to see in there?
I think it's interesting. I definitely think it piques fans' interest, the idea that somebody could win a tournament to get the honor of being John Cena's last match, and it is a big honor. So yeah, I'm actually excited for it. I don't know whose idea it was, but I like the idea, and I think it opens up an extended storyline. There's so many wrestlers that I would like to see. We already saw a great match, the final match between Cena and AJ Styles. I love that match. That was a great match. So I want AJ Styles in the tournament. I want Randy Orton in the tournament. You and I talked about this. John Cena's always been a great company guy, the guy that didn't mind putting guys over. So how about bringing up a couple of the more talented, bigger names on NXT to be in that tournament? It's time for me. Somebody like Obafemi should be in that tournament. I'm ready for that. I'm excited for it. Get somebody younger, talented guys. Hey, you know what? We teased this. We joked about this. I'm going to put it out there right now again. I want my guy, Dirty Dom, in that tournament. because I want to see Dirty Dom and John Cena. If I'm saying what I want to see, I want Dirty Dom and John Cena final match with Dom's belt on the line. It is the one title the great John Cena's never won. I'd like to see him get a shot to go out on that note. That would be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely think that John Cena versus Dom match does happen. It almost feels like that's a perfect match for Survivor Series. I know there's been some rumors that could be the Survivor Series match, and I feel like that's almost the perfect match for that event. You know, it's in San Diego. The Mysterios are, big in San Diego. So it almost feels like the perfect match. And, Dom can almost bait John Cena into it by saying, I didn't win the tournament, but I'll give you a shot at the IC title, and John Cena wanting it. So now I do love the idea of second to last match. Last match, I do agree that a John Cena versus Dom match should absolutely happen. And, it's funny. I know they teased other companies, but I think you'll get some of that from TNA. I think you might see like Matt Cardona, maybe Nick Nemeth shows up. I know a lot of people are going to start, tooting the horn of, is this how they bring in Adam Copeland? Or I don't think they'll go that. I don't think they'll go that far because I don't know if AEW would go for that. But I do think that it'll be fun. I think they'll bring in some TNA talent. I think you'll see some old Joe Hendry. So I think this will be a fun idea, especially if they go kind of all in with the idea of introducing some people from a different company. Now,
No, I like that.
And it's funny. You kind of said what I was thinking, right? Look, I know the odds-on favorite for the winner of this tournament. Rumors for a while that the last match might very well be against Gunther. And I think Gunther's a fine choice, but look, Mo, I want to go bold. I want to go bold. I want to go big. I want to go brash. I want to throw it back to John Cena debuting against Kurt Angle, Ruthless Aggression. He was a young up-and-comer, giving it his all against, at the time, Kurt Angle. So I'd almost love to see just like a young up-and-comer in that spot. Not somebody who's more established like a Gunther. Almost would be more fun to see like an Obafemi come in and beat John Cena in his first match. Flashback to when Kevin Owens did it when he came up from NXT. So I would love to see one of the NXT guys, especially like Obafemi, be the one to stun everybody, win this tournament, and retire John Cena.
Yeah, and I think that John Cena has been the kind of guy that's open to that. I don't think that he necessarily has to win his final match so long as it's an entertaining match and the fans get their money's worth. I think John Cena's fine with putting someone else over on his way out. And that's kind of the way it should be, old school fashion. Like, I'm leaving, here's the next guy up, look what he just did. I kind of like that. Don't get me wrong, if John Cena were to win, I'm not going to be disappointed because I'm a big John Cena fan. But I think he's the kind of performer that he can make it a win-win either way it goes. He's just that giving. So I'm excited for all the possibilities, but I think we lean in the same direction that I would prefer that it be a younger up-and-coming talent.
I will say they better do John Cena right in that last match. Look, don't pull a Goldberg on him. Give him time to, give his farewell speech and, address the crowd and the people at home who are watching for John Cena. Like, if they don't do that or pull some BS where he, starts to, but then, gets laid out at the end, I'm going to be annoyed, man. Just do right by John Cena. That's all that matters.
Give that man the mic and let him say what he's got to say before he leaves. He's given you almost 25 years of his life. And he has every claim, in my book, as people call it, he has every claim to being the GOAT.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, like I said, that's all that matters to me for that episode of Saturday Night's Main Event. I'm looking forward to it. Can't wait to see how they handle it. Mo, how about, well, this past Saturday, we had an episode of Saturday Night's Main Event. And of course, it was all the rave. We have a couple of new champions. But why don't we start at the beginning? Because there's one championship that didn't change hands. Cody Rhodes versus Drew McIntyre. We have people trying to figure out, is this feud going to continue? We have people upset because now, Drew, they buried Drew McIntyre. Mo, what is your takeaway from this whole Cody Rhodes defeating Drew McIntyre to open up Saturday Night's Main Event?
I feel like Cody beating Drew, that's not necessarily surprising to me. But I do feel like for some reason, even though Cody won, I still feel like we're closer to a Cody Rhodes heel turn, right? Like it feels like Cody's been such a face for so long. He finished his story and everything, but I think at some point he's gotten a little nauseating to fans. I feel like Cody Rhodes is due for a heel turn and a long run as a heel. By the way, Cody Rhodes as a heel, I think he might hold the belt longer. like I think he would be an amazing heel. With Drew McIntyre, I feel like there have been a lot of great wrestlers, and you know this, who've pursued belts for the better part of their careers, and they've had like brief runs or brief stints as champions, but they're always the chaser. I think Drew's one of those guys. What's that line? Always a bridesmaid, never a bride. I feel like Drew's kind of in that category, and he's too good. He's too high a talent in terms of where he ranks to settle, if you want to call it settling, to be the U.S. champion or the Intercontinental champion. And yet, because of the logjam at the top of the division, I feel like there's like a couple of guys they're not going to put him over on. I think Drew eventually will win the belt again, but I think he'll also have a short run. I don't think Drew's ever going to be like a dominant champion. He's going to have a great career, but I think he's going to be a chaser.
And he definitely deserves a decent title run at some point. He finally got his moment of winning the title in front of a live crowd at WrestleMania 40, but then got cashed in on a couple minutes later. Like, he hasn't had a real World Heavyweight Championship run in front of a live crowd, which is crazy to think about. So I definitely think even if it's only a couple month reign, Drew definitely should be getting one at some point. That being said, I do like them adding an edge to Cody's character. I think a problem with almost a lot of baby faces in the mold of Cody Rhodes, they try to stay too corporate and cookie cutter.
Right.
But I think Cody keeps like adding these little twists that continues to make him interesting, right? Like him standing up to John Cena on the mic. Now all of a sudden he's cheating to beat Drew. Like, it's the little things that to me that make Cody Rhodes interesting. A flawed hero is better than a perfect hero, and I think Cody's kind of showing that.
Yeah, I could agree with that analogy. Because it's interesting. You can't make everybody a heel the same way you can't make everybody a face, because as we know, Jey Uso's are always, as we look at his storyline, he's going through a metamorphosis, right? Like, you can tell Jay's a beat away from going full heel. He hadn't quite done it. There's been signs, there's been moments, and I thought the match against Punk would push him, and it did, but he didn't really go all the way there, and he lost. And I the interesting thing about Jay is, more than Cody, I think Jay needs to turn heel, because the Me Us, that whole thing, it got oversaturated. Now it's just overdone. And as an in-ring performer, I think Jay's entertaining, but he doesn't have a really big bag. He's got a super kick, he's got a spear, he's got the Uso splash, he's got the spit punch, I just gave you his whole book, his whole repertoire. He didn't have a lot going on. Maybe that's why he was a tag team wrestler for so long. But again, as we talked about earlier before the show, when you're a heel, it opens up a bigger toolbox because you can do other things that heels tend to do. I think Jay, and look, it's not like Jay hasn't been a heel before, but I'm talking about as a solo performer, it'd be totally different for him. I actually think he'd be better as a solo performer. And Jay's the kind of guy, Brett, even though he's held the championship before, he's not too big a star that he couldn't be Intercontinental Champion or he couldn't be U.S. Champion as a singles champion, because he's fairly new if you think in the overall scheme of his career as a singles performer. So I think Jay Uso is going to win more belts. I just don't know if it's going to be the top 2 belts.
Yeah, and that's something I agree. I think it's time to turn him or switch up his character. The current iteration of Jey Uso, if he wants to stay as he is as a babyface, well, it's time to grab that tag rope. Time for an Usos reunion.
Yeah.
But the singles version, I think it's definitely time for a little bit of a tweak, which he did tease. He did tease that after Saturday night's main event, he posted a picture of like a black screen that says, "Y'all got it," with a, emoji almost symboling a middle finger. So we might be getting a darker Jey Uso, which could be interesting. So I think it'll be interesting. Also, speaking of Dominic Mysterio, Mo, we talked about him earlier. His heel work in that Intercontinental Championship, man, I can't talk about it enough. That was so creative. Him ringing the bell mid-match to confuse Rusev was a terrific bit. I absolutely love that.
I love Dom. He's become my favorite performer. Innovative. Dom wins most matches using his mind compared to his physical skills, which, by the way, I think they're vastly underrated, because when you look at him physically, he's not one of these big overpowering guys, but he's quick, he's very smart, and he's great at playing mind games. You do a fatal three-way, and the first thing you think of is the champions at a clear disadvantage. But because Penta and Rusev don't like each other as well, Dom played that well for most of the match, off of the fact that they disliked each other. And even when they figured it out, he was still 2 beats ahead of either one of them. Like, I just love Dom. And it's funny, nobody saw this coming, but I still think Dom's going to continue to have a long run. I don't think he's done.
Yeah, and then, of course, there was the funny bit where he tried to pull the old Eddie Guerrero trick to get, Rusev disqualified only for the ref to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
They go, "What are you doing? There's no disqualifications. This is triple threat, man." He's just so funny at this point. Like,
and that's another thing. Entertaining and funny. A lot of people can't pull that off, but Dom does it with ease.
no, absolutely. So, like I said, I really do hope we get that John and Dom match. Just because I think they'd work so well off of each other. And of course, Mo, we had 2 titles that changed hands. Well, we start with the Women's Championship. Tiffany Stratton versus Jade Cargill. Jade is your new champion. Now, of course, a lot's been made about what Jade can and can't do in the ring, etc. So, what do you think about, Jade becoming champion? Is it too early? Do you think there are ways to, really work around it? What are your thoughts?
I think the WWE really tried hard working with her and trying to add a bigger bag in terms of wrestling moves and those timing moves. And it really wasn't a strength of hers. If you looked at her run in AEW, what made her a dominant champion in AEW, Brett, was Tony Khan and the creative people at AEW. They didn't complicate things. They kept it simple. She's a power wrestler, and she would not be nearly as convincing as a face because she just doesn't have what it takes to be a face. But as a heel, a dominant power wrestling heel, I think she could be a dominant champion. I think Jade Cargill is going to hold on to the belt at least till WrestleMania, maybe beyond, but I think at least till WrestleMania. As I'm watching the match between her and Tiffany Stratton, in my head, I'm seeing visions of Scott Steiner, Big Papa Pump, another person who, when he became Big Papa Pump and was super powerful, he didn't have nearly the wrestling bag that he had early in his career. I'm seeing a little bit of Hogan there, the Hollywood Hogan thing, where you don't have to do a lot of great moves. As a heel, you can break the eyes, you can choke, you can do things when the ref turns their back, and you can rely on your power. Like, how many times did she power bomb Tiffany Stratton? Like, the fact that Tiffany Stratton even kicked out a couple of times was amazing. But going forward, I think them playing to her strengths, and the fact that she never really is good at cutting promos, but now that she's a heel, I think that she can be closer to her authentic self and her promos will be better. So I think they just went ahead and said, we know what she is, what her strengths are. Let's just embrace them. And it works.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it almost going to be the $1 million question is about to be answered, because it almost feels like the best course of action for her would be almost like a Goldberg level reign of destruction. But 2025, a lot of people really value that in ring work. So I think we're about to get a real test if just that dominant run by a wrestler with limited moves, kind of in the same vein as people had long winning streaks like Goldberg. I think we're about to see if that really works now with the modern fan, because it'll be interesting. I think it'll be a lot of fun. I think that she got off to a great start to it at Saturday night's main event. She showed a lot of intensity, and I think that's key. And at some point, maybe you can pair her with a manager, like a mouthpiece to help her out, or you can just keep it mainly to backstage interviews with Jade. But at the end of the day, I think there's workarounds to making this whole thing work with Jade. And I think it's going to be great. I think they will do that. I think they'll put her in a great position to succeed, and I think she'll knock it out of the park. I have faith that this will work.
Look, I think you brought up something that I was thinking too as this was playing out. I think she needs a mouthpiece. It could be a manager, or it could be a minion. Because I do think if they're going to make this character deeper and make her a full-on heel in the way that Hogan was or Steiner was, or even not Goldberg, but the way those two were, because she's going to be in the role of a heel. You need a minion, maybe two, maybe one. You need at least one, but you need a minion who can A, run their mouth, and B, interfere on your behalf to where you can be that heel that people are like, oh no, that's how she won. I think that will work out well for her. So I'm curious to who will be her minion, if you will, because I think that's coming. She's going to have at least one, maybe two flunkies.
Say, Mo, the real question, because I feel like there's two matches on the table that I really want to see, that I would love for Bianca at WrestleMania. And we're just going to have a little fun fantasy booking. Would you rather them build up to Bianca versus Jade at WrestleMania, which I think is absolutely a WrestleMania-worthy match, or give us the match that we've been asking for maybe a year or two now, in Bianca versus Rhea Ripley?
For me, this is a no-brainer. I think Jade and Bianca could be a banger. It will not come close to Jade, or not Jade, but Bianca versus Rhea Ripley. I think that right there, that's one of those things that's going to be match of the year, instant classic, all the superlatives you can come up with. I think they match each other strength-wise, their ability to do multiple moves, go to the air. I want that match. I want Rhea versus Bianca Belair. And if Jade is somehow involved in us getting to that process, I'm okay with that. I am. If Rhea's got to beat her to take the belt, or if Bianca comes back and takes the belt and Rhea goes, I want next. However that comes across, I absolutely want to see Rhea and Bianca in the ring. And matter of fact, I'm like this. Even if Rhea and Bianca get in the ring and it's not for a belt, that's going to be a banger.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw immediately when Jade won the belt, people were kind of starting to talk like, all right, Bianca Jade, WrestleMania, and I'm like, I still kind of want that Rhea Bianca match though. I can find a spot for, I still want Bianca versus Jade at some point, but it feels like the main event and I feel like it's big enough to be one of the main events. Should be just say Bianca versus Rhea Ripley. I thought I thought they were going to run it last year, and I was pulling for that main event one of the nights. So overall, I'm hoping to get that one-on-one match soon. And hopefully next year at WrestleMania and a main events night one. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, and like you said, they're both so talented and they're both such big stars. That's a main event match even without a belt on the line. Maybe the stipulation can be whoever wins that match is automatically the number one contender or something like that.
Absolutely. And of course, main event, we have a new world heavyweight champion. His name is CM Punk. Of course, let's see, where does that leave? The match was definitely discussed. They unfortunately messed up a neck breaker spot that I've seen about 27 times on my Twitter feed.
Yeah, me too.
Very, very awkward and clunky match, but hey, we got the result that I think everybody wanted out of this one. CM Punk's the champ. Well, what did you think of the match, and who are some opponents you'd like to see CM Punk take on right off the bat?
In a really weird way, I actually thought that CM Punk and Jey Uso could have been a good combination. But once you saw them in the ring and throughout the match, it was very awkward. And you know how important chemistry is. They have no chemistry. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It wasn't as bad as Jay and Jimmy, because that should never be made again. But it just felt awkward and not natural. I'm good with the results because Punk has been chasing it for forever. So he was due. And I think they sped up the timeline, obviously, because of the injury to Seth Rollins. And Jay had just come off of a title run not too long ago. And I think the fans are a little tired of the face Jay. That's why, and like you alluded to earlier, he teased the heel turn. He didn't go full bore, but he teased it. I think the heel turn is coming. I think that as a heel, Jey Uso is going to have some more success. I think he'll win. He'll win maybe the U.S. belt or the Intercontinental title. He might even go ahead and tag team again as a heel. But I think Jey Uso is going to be a lot more interesting as a heel versus him as being a face.
The Usos versus the Lucha Brothers it's right there. They just got to pull the trigger on it.
I want to see that. I'm here for it.
So we kind of touched on Survivor Series. It's coming up, obviously later this month. And I don't know if I'm the only one that feels this way, Mo, but I really hope they don't run a War Games match at Survivor Series. My problem is it's starting to kind of get the same vibes as when WWE had the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, and the match is just starting to not make sense in there. Like, yeah, Randy Orton versus Mark Henry in Hell in a Cell. Great. Why do they hate each other? Why do we need the Hell in a Cell?
Right.
And it was the most basic standard Mark Henry versus Randy Orton match, or like Randy Orton versus Sheamus. And it feels like we're starting to get to that point. Like, the only match we have built up that could potentially be in War Games is MFT versus the Wyatt Six. And honestly, Mo, for me, that could just be a straight up elimination match, a traditional Survivor Series tag, and I'd be good with it.
Yeah,
I just don't want them to I just don't want them to almost devalue the War Game structure by kind of forcing it once a year when it's just not necessary every year.
It isn't necessary because I think that if you put together the right storylines and the right teams, War Games on its own is entertaining. To me, if it's not broke, don't try to fix it by adding these random like fights or whatever matches that they don't have real natural heat because the buildup wasn't done properly. It feels rushed. It's not natural. I don't get me wrong. Do I mind seeing the Wyatt Six and MFT? No, I'm okay with it. But I'm with you. I think it could just be a regular. It doesn't have to be part of War Games. Look, make the thing about the thing. War Games. Make War Games about War Games.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I like War Games. I love the Wyatt Six. I probably enjoy Solo Sikoa more than a lot of people do, but yeah, just save that for like blood feuds that need it or when the story makes sense. I know.
Real quick, I have to admit, the development of Solo Sikoa, not just as the leader of MFT, but where he started and where he is and how well he is on the mic and how comfortable he looks right now. Like the crazy thing about him on the microphone and how he speaks and his whole persona, he's actually better on the microphone than his older brothers.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. He's just so funny. I don't know what it. He's just so he's such a natural funny too. Like it doesn't feel forced when it comes to Solo.
Right.
It felt forced when they tried to make him, be the tribal chief, but as soon as they just let Solo be Solo, honestly, he's one of my favorite parts of SmackDown. He's just so unintentionally funny with the body language and the faces that he makes. So
I love when he imitates people. He's hilarious.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm hoping that this leads to a really good match though. I do hope the match happens at Survivor Series though. MFT Wyatt Six.
Yeah.
Give me that Survivor Series elimination match. It'll be great. Also, I do hope too that obviously CM Punk just won the world title. I feel like I already know. I don't know if it's gonna be his next opponent, but I already feel like I know the angle they're running at Survivor Series or the Royal Rumble, Mo. And I'm hoping I'm wrong. Is it just me, or does it feel like that every time there's a vacated title or the world title's in flux, what did WWE always do? They just kind of hit that Brock Lesnar button. And I really hope that they're not going to end up feeding CM Punk to Lesnar right before Mania, because that feels like the most WWE coded thing to do, honestly.
I hope you're wrong too on that front. I do. I hope they don't go down that path. I hope they're a little bit more creative with it than they have been in the past. I don't want to see that. I really don't. Been there, done that. I need them to be a little bit more creative going forward and really come up with some interesting storylines. This is one of those things where bringing up younger talent can let you have richer storylines. It opens up newer avenues in terms of matches and combinations. And I hope they're more open to that instead of doing the same old, same old.
No, absolutely. You know what's funny though, Mo? I do. I think on the women's side, I think they'll end up having a War Games match. It feels like the women's side has a lot stronger case for a War Games match than the actual men's side. So I'm curious to see, because you got enough like people that hate each other on the women's side, I think, to make it work.
For sure.
Asuka, Kyrie, Becky, the Judgment Day, Io, Rhea Ripley, Bayley, Lyra, AJ. Like, I feel like they can make a great War Games match. So I'll slightly adjust my statement. I hope they have a women's War Game match, but you don't need a men's one this year.
Look, I hope they're listening. The women's roster is so deep with talent that a War Games, and like you said, at least in the women's division, you can see certain factions or certain duos who hate each other where it would be just a natural build to war games. That totally makes sense to me. That makes sense. And I hope they're thinking the same. You know what I mean? Like the natural progression of aggression between EO and with Rhea and obviously Kairi Sane and Asuka, that's natural. And you can take a Becky Lynch and someone and form a crew that way. I would love to see that. That would be entertaining for me. And I hope they pursue that avenue rather than trying to generate something with the men.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, because it's say I'm excited. I'm so excited for next Survivor Series. It's going to be a great Saturday night's main event. Apparently early next year. There's rumors, little AEW news. I've read that apparently Will Ospreay is eyeing up like a January or February return. I don't know if he'll be back that soon, but I hope so. He's he flies around that ring like not a lot of people can. So I'm hoping for a speedy return for Will Ospreay. You always hate to see people get hurt.
Facts. Oh, look, I'm a big Will Ospreay fan, so look, he'll fast, man, and come back 100%.
Yeah, say, have you been keeping up with the weird news about Andrade and his contract situation?
No, I mean the only thing I've seen and it's come across my it's come across the X feed, it's come across the TikTok feed a couple of times. It's just stuff about his relationship with his ex-wife, obviously Charlotte Flair, but I haven't heard anything about his contract situation.
So this is the most interesting thing, right? So Andrade, obviously he gets, fired from WWE. And then he shows up on AEW, attacks Kenny Omega, and hasn't been seen since. But apparently now it's being told that WWE, at first it was thought there was not a non-compete clause in his contract, but now apparently they're saying that since he violated the non-compete in his contract, that non-compete could possibly be enforced to up to a year. So it's an entirely crazy situation that I don't think would hold up because you're not paying them. Apparently they wouldn't be paying him the entire time the non-compete's involved. So it's just an absolute mess right now with Andrade. And honestly, WWE should just let it go and let him go do his thing.
Yeah, I think it's a bad look on their part anyway. You fired him, you let him go. So what's your problem? If you don't value him and Tony Khan and company do, just let it go. You know what I mean? Like this is one of those moments where WWE can just take the high ground and go, we'll appreciate his service with the company. We wish him well in all his future endeavors and then move on.
Yeah, because obviously when AEW had the similar situation with Penta, they got drugged through the mud on this one. So it's I feel like it's only right to keep the same energy here. It should probably just let Andrade go do his thing, because it's just not. I don't think it's really fair to anybody involved. You're going to keep Andrade, and for what? You fired him. It's not like he's an actual employee with you. He's an independent contractor. So
Facts.
Overall, it's just a messy situation that I hope gets resolved soon. Even though I've openly, said that I'm not never really was sold too high on Andrade. He doesn't deserve to be just kind of kept on the sidelines just to be caught in this petty war between AEW and WWE.
I agree. Look, he's not one of my favorite performers, but I think he's a solid performer. But I think he's a mid card kind of guy, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if the WWE doesn't value him, which they clearly don't, why are you making a thing of something it's just not necessary? To me, this pettiness, it feels like Vince is running things again.
Yeah, no, that's not Vince. Don't want him running things again. And before we get up on out of here, Mo, Triple H had a pretty interesting quote, and I wanted to read it to you. He said, WWE shows are not written on the basis of it'll be a great match, but on the basis of the story that can be created. So, said some people in our business take this wrong. We don't write shows based on that'll be a great match. We write it on the stories that we can create, the protagonist, the antagonist. How does that work with each other? Telling stories that can resonate, that maybe they've experienced in their real life or some type of fantastical version of that. I find that interesting. Maybe because it feels like the way that they've been doing things haven't really been working out for them. So I don't know. I get what he's saying. The idea is there, but I feel like it's probably not a great idea to not think about how the actual match is going to go. Because at the end of the day, you can tell the greatest story on earth, but if the match at the end sucks, then that's what people are going to remember. Shout out to Triple H and Randy Orton from WrestleMania 25.
Yeah, so there's nothing wrong with what he said, but I'm where you're at. It's the execution of the matches still matter. Like you can have a great storyline and it could sprout other stories, to the left or right. But if the in-ring performance is bad, it directly impacts the storyline, in my opinion, right? Like that's what fans are going to talk about. So I feel like he's trying to say like the story is greater than what's happening in the ring. The story matters, it does. But if you're the fan, like we are the fans, what you do in the ring matters to us too. You can give us a crappy match and go, but Mo, wait, the story's coming. Like that doesn't work for me. I'm greedy. I kind of need both.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's why it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I kind of agree with you. Like, you need that story, but like I said, we can already tell that at the end of the day, if you can't back up the story with a great match, then what are people really going to remember? That WrestleMania, I always reference WrestleMania 25 with that. Randy Orton and Triple H had arguably the best story on the entire road to WrestleMania. The whole story leading up to that was fantastic. And then the match was so bad that people forget the story. They just remember that those two had a stinker on the biggest stage. Yeah, no, that's all I had for us today, though. Mo, anything you want to add before we get up on out of here?
Look, I want to thank the chat. I appreciate you guys coming in, joining us. Anybody else from whatever platform you're on, checking the Meaty Boys out. We appreciate you guys rolling with us on our new day, new time. And look, just keep coming. We got more stuff coming ahead. Brett has been really great forging relationships and getting us guests on. And I'm excited for the next time we can do that. I missed it the first time around, but I will be ready. Just thank you for supporting the Meaty Boys podcast. We do appreciate you guys so much.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can check out Mo on the morning show in the mornings. The next time you'll see me and Mo is Thursday night on the N1 podcast. We'll be talking hoops. And we'll be obviously discussing a very, let's just say, controversial point guard right now in John Morant. And we'll be playing a fun game. So, hot take. Somebody said Ja isn't a top 10 point guard in the league right now. So, tune in on Thursday where we play a fun game of John Morant or. So, thank you for tuning in. And we definitely appreciate you and enjoy the rest of your night.